I could have your attention, please. Well, first of all, good morning. Good morning. I like that. Thanks a lot. It's good to see some new faces and some familiar faces as well. If you don't know me, my name is Dean Adams. I'm Vice President for Student Services here at Lindsey Wilson College. And a number of years ago, we decided that we were going to have a Veterans Day luncheon to honor our veterans. And it started, we just had this small room. There were only a few people, but every year it's grown. And it's just good to see everyone. We have folks not only from Adair County, but from surrounding counties as well. And this is just a time where we like to come together and say thank you. Thank you on Veterans Day. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for your sacrifices. We appreciate that. We live in the greatest country on the face of the planet because of folks like you. And it's all we can do sometimes is just say thank you and perhaps offer a meal, so that will be good as well.
And thank you for your service to our country and for giving me these few moments to bring greetings and tell you about something that we're very proud of here at Lindsey Wilson College. This past summer, our students were part of the Rome Choral Festival, an event in Italy, which we got to participate in. And in the music world, it's a huge event. It has since then opened numerous doors for us in which we are trying to step our way through cautiously. One of which is the opportunity on July 4th, of all days, to present a concert and wreath-laying ceremony at the American Cemetery at Normandy. We think this is a huge honor and privilege and wanted you to know about it, make you aware of it, but to also say to you, if within your circle of influence you know people in two realms, one, who might contribute to help us do this trip, and two, if there's someone we should recognize, maybe in your family, maybe you served and were part of that invasion on D-Day at Normandy. We would like to do that as part of our wreath-laying ceremony. So, one, if you know some people who, or yourself that might be able to help us with the cost of the trip, and then two, is there someone we should recognize as part of the wreath-laying ceremony? We're going to be able to place names within the wreath. And you see presidents do this like on Memorial Day at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. That sort of event is what we'll be doing at Normandy on July 4th. So as you finish today and are leaving, in the foyer as you exit, several students who are part of this trip in July will be there. They'll have little things in their hand that look like this that say, "We the people." And so if you see someone with those in their hand, that's who to talk to and say, "Oh, I know somebody," or "I could help in this way." And these students will be glad to talk with you about it. As a matter of fact, one of them is Emily Ramage, and she's going to come now and lead us in our invocation, and you can look for her in the foyer as you're leaving today. Thank you.
And I really don't think that anybody outside of it can understand it, can they? Unless you've been in it, you just don't get it. Now, my wife and I have a running joke, and this is a true story, not a preacherly story. My wife and I have a running joke that if she can't sleep at night, she'll turn over and she'll say, "Terry, I can't sleep. Will you tell me some of your Army stories?" Works like Simonex. I mean, just within minutes, she goes right to sleep. But not us. Not veterans. See, we get it. This is the company of the committed. We get the stories and the impression that was made upon our lives, most of us, when we were very, very young. And so I thought what we do today is find out who we are and who we were. And I think since we stood proudly as patriots to answer our country's call, I'm going to ask you to stand up if a category I call out fits you. If you have difficulty standing up, just go ahead and raise your hand, that's fine. But otherwise, I'd like you to stand. And so I'm going to mention some different categories, and you get to stand up if it fits you, and then you can sit down. Army veterans, stand up. You're in the U.S. Army. Okay. Thought there'd be a bunch. Great. All right. Thank you. Our Navy veterans. Our Navy veterans. Thank you. The Marines. The Marines. Our Air Force veterans. Do you have any Coast Guard veterans here? I'd be interested if we did. Usually you find them on the coast, not in central Kentucky. Okay, great. If you were primarily active duty, your time of service was active duty, stand. Let's find out who our active duty persons were. That was your primary time. Okay? And what's happening is our stories are blending together over the generations. I wonder how many of you here in this room, maybe by a show of hands, grew up hearing Dad or Grandpa talk about the Great War, which is World War I. Yeah, I heard that growing up. Their voices are gone now, but the commonalities remain. Just like it was said, it was the best of times, and yet without a doubt it was the worst of times. And you put up with hardship and deprivation and sleepless nights and being in harm's way. But would you agree also, just by the fact that you are here, they were some of the most memorable years of your lives. You'll never forget them. And yet at the same time, for most of us, there are at least a few memories you wish you could forget. And how many of our fellow veterans still deal with post-traumatic stress? You know, it's probably the loneliest of times, and yet the most social of times, wasn't it? How many of you here left a girl behind? Come on. You left the family behind, right? How many of you lost your girlfriend? I got my hand up here, you know. Singing all those songs in Basic about Jody getting your girlfriend. That's what happened, but I guess it was good in the long run, you know. And yet, even though it was the loneliest of times, you were surrounded by people, right? Yeah. Everywhere you looked, right? People learning colorful language from your drill sergeant. A whole new vocabulary. Meeting colorful characters. Standing in line, right? Filling out forms. Waiting for chow. Standing in formation. Cleaning weapons. Shining boots. Fixing up uniforms. Marching. Did you ever get used to living in a barracks with 40 or 80 or 100 people? My first experience was coming to Fort Knox. They put me in the barracks with 40 people on one level, 40 on the next, and I stepped into the latrine and there were just a row of commodes, no partitions even between them. I said, I don't think I can go to the bathroom for about 10 weeks, you know. But I got used to it, you know. You get used to being surrounded by people, okay? And can everyone in the room right now think of a military buddy you know who's gone on? Someone maybe lost then or someone since that time. Will you say their name out loud right now? Just say their name. It was a time of coming of age. You were very young and yet you became old and matured very quickly. And you saw the world. My father had not ventured 25 miles from his home before he was called overseas and was there on D-Day. And even though it only took 3 years from his life until he was in his very latter days of passing away, he was always reading books about World War II and sort of processing and thinking, what did I go through there as a young man being called to serve my country, and how proud he was. In fact, when I went for his funeral, I was too choked up to, even though I'm a minister now, I'm too choked up to be able to do it. It was tough. And even though that just took 3 years of his life, and he had lived a whole life and raised 3 sons, 2 that turned out pretty well, and 1 that turned out okay, I guess, he still wanted to be remembered as Staff Sergeant Wilbur Swan and be buried in the military cemetery. He said, I did my part. Do you remember how proud you were to complete basic training? You remember that? Do you remember getting a little ribbon to put on your chest for the first time? Or a little mosquito wing or chevron or whatever you got? And you were just so proud of those accomplishments. I have to tell you, even though I've retired, I'll be fully retiring in a matter of months, and there's scarcely a week that doesn't go by. I bet some of you do this every now and then. I go into my closet and there's the row of uniforms. And they're all starched and pressed like they're standing at attention there. And I just look at them for a moment, and I close the door and realize that's something that's going to be swiftly part of my past, no longer to be used. I want to say to you, friends, in closing, you did this. You know what I'm talking about. You answered the call. And so I pray that not one of you will ever disparage your part in serving our country. I hope you never say, well, I was just a grunt, or I was just a mechanic, or administrator, or cook, or I was just a private, or a sergeant, or lieutenant, or an airman, or whatever you might be tempted to say, in which you put down your military service. Every single one of you here was important. Part of a big organic machine that was America's military. And that's why we call it an honorable discharge. You served with honor, and that's why we honor you today. You, and I really mean this, you are the champions of democracy, and we will not forget you. And we affirm you and salute you on this Veterans Day 2012. Thank you for serving, and thank you for being our honored guests today. Have a great day. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Before we have the benediction, I'm going to ask my friend Wendell Sullivan to come up. He brought his harmonica with him, and I think he's going to play the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Is that what you told me? Are we still doing that? Yeah. Come on up.